Let me post this. Good. Great. Nice. Let me launch this. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I figured something out that my streaming bit rate is about 6,000, right? And I started to see I started getting more and more annoyed by the fact that the artifacting shows up in the videos that I make because I don't record locally. I if there's something I want to make a video out of, I just download the stream directly from Twitch, right? Everyone's live streaming today. You're the third person. Yes, I know everybody's going to be live today. Um But I decided to also record this locally for editing purposes because I saw in the OBS settings I confirmed that the local recording bitrate is 12,000, but my stream output is only 6,000 the bitrate. Which means that if I record this locally and there's something I want to make a video out of, it will be less like staticky looking. There will be less artifacting if I record this locally and then edit based off of that than if I download the VOD from Twitch. Even though downloading the VOD from Twitch is less of a load on my computer, as long as I'm just streaming Mario Kart, it should be fine if I also record locally. Probably because it's processing in real time. Yeah, well, what it really is that it's that apparently Twitch has trouble handling anything higher than a 6,000 kilobit per second bit rate. And my computer, recording locally, you can get much higher quality. It's a limiting factor on Twitch's end that doesn't exist if I just record locally. So yeah. I think YouTube has a limit of 10,000 or something like that. I don't know. Oh, what? Oh, there was an update. Okay, I got an update then. Yeah. Like normal videos, they take hours to process. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, I don't think. I've uploaded longer videos that have not taken that long to process, although there are some videos that are really long that also take a super long time to process. I don't know. Look, I just wanted to test this. I don't know if there's I mean, presumably there's going to be something that I make a segment out of this stream. But is something happening today? Well, we all saw what happened yesterday. I didn't stream yesterday, which is when the thing happened. And I might as well get into it now. We don't have rights anymore. That's pretty bad, I think. I went to the BBC for this because this was a relatively short summary, and I think just it communicates the meat of the point. Donald Trump issued an executive order to deport a bunch of people that the administration alleges are part of the Tren de Aragua gang. It is a gang that exists, and they do some stuff, but ultimately it's like the MS-13 talking point where they'll just go up to any Hispanic person and be like, "You're a member of Tren de Aragua. You're a gang member," you know, that's kind of the tier of argumentation. I accepted it. We don't have rights when Donald Trump won the election. Yeah, it's like now it's like they got it in writing now. Is all that's going on. Trump issued an executive order that invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which dictates that in times of war or I don't think it even says national emergency. I think it's just in times of war, you can basically suspend habeas corpus and basically the government can do whatever the fuck it wants to all sorts of types of people, you know, alleged to be enemy combatants or whatever, and I think even political dissenters. No, that might be the Alien and Sedition Acts during the Adams presidency. So Either way, let's take a look at BBC. It's a short article. What is the 1798 law that Trump used to deport migrants? More than 200 Venezuelans, alleged by the White House, alleged, mind you, to be gang members, have been deported from the U.S. to a notorious mega jail in El Salvador. Out of the 261 people deported, 137 were removed under the Alien Enemies Act, according to a senior administration official who told CBS, which is BBC's U.S. partner. This broad, centuries-old law was invoked by President Trump. He accused the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, of perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion or predatory incursion on U.S. territory. Yeah, every news supports Donald Trump or whatever the fuck. It's dumb as hell. The movement's been criticized by rights groups. Damn, you don't say. And came despite a temporary block issued by a judge. This is a big deal. The judge, the deportation of these people, who, mind you, are only alleged to have maybe been Tren de Aragua members. There was no proof, there was no trial, there was no due process. They just arrested them and put them on a plane immediately. When the judge's order came down, the plane was already in the air. And the judge said, fuck it, turn the plane around and bring them back here so they could have due process. And Trump was like, no, you can't do that. The plane's already in the air. I don't know if it was Trump personally, but it was somebody in the administration. I forgot to change my settings, so I gotta go back. You know. Yeah, look, the White House, and they doubled down too, because, like, obviously, who's going to stop them? The White House has said the judge's order itself was not lawful and was issued after the group was deported, so they didn't even wait. What is the act? The Alien Enemies Act grants the President of the U.S. sweeping powers to order the detention and deportation of natives or citizens of an enemy nation without following the usual processes. And by the usual processes, they mean the processes by which you would prove anything that anybody is like guilty of, you know? So under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has the authority to just, based on pure suspicion, just to allege that somebody is an enemy to the United States. Literally, you can label somebody an enemy of the state that is engaging in treasonous acts or an act of war, and just deport them without due process. It sounds like fucking dystopian as hell, but I promise you that's just the actual substance of the law. The text is like 18th century shit with like a million commas, but you know, that's what this is. Yeah, the act states that whenever there shall be a declared war or any invasion or predatory incursion shall be perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the U.S., all subjects of the hostile nation or government could be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. Basically, the pipeline here is, we're at war with the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and you look like a Tren de Aragua member. The government has reasonable suspicion to believe that you're a hostile national. Therefore, we will now detain you and deport you without due process. And they could just do that. And they are just doing that. When else has it been used? During World War II. That's great. And the War of 1812 and World War I. Those were the only other 3 times that this act has been invoked to suspend habeas corpus. It sounds, I've said this before, but for stuff like this, what do I say? What do I even, like, what is the analysis I even give? They hate you, they want you dead, and now they have the power to do it. You know? This is them taking the mile, you know? Congress handed the government the keys by giving up the last bit of power they had, and now or the government, the executive, and now they're just like, oh great, cool, since you're not going to stop us, we'll just do the thing. Hope the median vote figures this out soon. Yeah, this is I doubt if they will, but you know, in lieu of that, let suffering be our teacher, I suppose. I don't know, dude. You know, on the one hand, the government, the extremely authoritarian government, alleges that there is criminal gang activity that is being perpetrated by people who look brown. On the other hand, every single rights group in the country is saying, Jesus fucking Christ, this is authoritarian to the extreme, and, you know, this is literally like what Nazi Germany did. So, you know, who can say, really? Didn't mean to hit him. Fortunately, he's close enough to the cannon that it's probably fine. But anyways. No. Get fucked up. Okay. 8th place. I mean, it sounds like very, I don't know. I don't know how it sounds. It probably sounds a certain way, but it is kind of just over. You know, this is, we're now in, I feel like there were a number of points where we could tell that the United States was in a similar state of decline to the Weimar Republic and very much sliding into Nazi Germany, where a well-developed and industrialized state was being run by fascists who were completely incompetent and hated everything and everyone and were stripping people of their rights, not the least of which being minorities who were the most vulnerable, putting them in concentration camps, which would result in mass death. And I feel like in history, we remember there as being a certain point where you can tell, okay, now it's Nazi Germany. The Nazis have taken power. The Enabling Act has been passed. They've seized broad executive authority for themselves. There's no more freedom of speech. There's no more freedom of the press. And I feel like at various other points in the U.S., there's been some ambiguity as to like, okay, we're very late on the pipeline, but we might not be at the end of it. Hopefully this hurts his public opinion. Hopefully. I mean, Trump supporters are fucking loving this, dude. I think I can safely say that we're in the Nazi Germany part of America's history now, where now we are the Nazis. Like, the government is controlled by Nazis, and the legislative branch, the only branch of government that had any power or willingness to put checks on the executive, has handed them the keys to the kingdom. And we've now seen that even when there are elements of the judiciary, the federal judiciary, that have expressed a willingness to reign in the federal government can now just say, nuh-uh, fuck you. And there's nothing anybody can really do about it, because they're the executive branch. Congress has given up. They control the highest level of the courts, and the lower courts are only as powerful as their respective executive branch partners allow them to be. There's no mechanism of enforcement for any of the judge's orders if the executive branch of the federal government is the perpetrator of these crimes. They're like, understand that the way that a liberal democracy works with like the three branches of government, whatever, the executive branch perpetrating these crimes is also the branch of government that is in charge of enforcing the law as told by judges. So when the executive branch does something illegal and a judge tells them to stop, they can just say, no, actually, we're legally in the right and you're not, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. except for, you know, protest and people power from below and all of that shit, you know? Yeah, this is it's further and further on on the pipeline of making peaceful revolution impossible, which thus makes violent revolution inevitable, you know? This is not me advocating for a violent revolution. This is me predicting one. There's a substantial difference between those two things. Use this Mega Mushroom. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm stating what is my understanding of historical fact. The more that governments make peaceful revolution impossible, the more that they guarantee that eventually a violent revolution will happen. You know, everything that the Trump administration has been doing, you know, with the disappearances of legal residents, immigrants, and citizens alike, and now the blatant defiance of a judge's order to not deport people without due process, them invoking the Alien Enemies Act in peacetime. We are not at war. No matter how much the administration would like to declare otherwise, you know, of course the law doesn't matter. All of this stuff is a perfect shitstorm for the circumstances in Nazi Germany that led to the worsening of life across the board. We've already seen, you know, everything getting worse. It's just about to get worse even faster. Because in addition to the unfettered incompetence of the Trump administration that's been enabled by the news media and by their capture of other parts of government institutions, now they have, again, through the acquiescence of the media, through the submission of the opposition party, which wasn't much of an opposition, they are now able to do all the blatantly evil stuff that they want, however competently, without obstruction. Yeah, it's like, yeah, thanks for giving us power. Let's, now we're gonna make you slaves. And that is what's happening to these migrants. The super jail, the Salvadorian super prison that these migrants were just without due process deported to, is a concentration camp. And conservatives are like, yeah, based when people point out like, yeah, this is a concentration camp. This is a work camp where people, you know, get worked to death. Conservatives on social media are like, awesome, that's cool actually. Because criminal scum something something. They deserve to be worked to death or something. You know? Like the Salvadorian president, President Bukele, actually like fucking proudly announced the work programs at what they called a work camp as part of the super prison where migrants from the United States were being deported to. We're like, you know, Nazi Germany did this with Jews that they imprisoned, with political dissidents that they imprisoned. We're just outsourcing it to El Salvador. You know, it's the same thing. You know, Auschwitz American version exists. It's just not in America. It's in El Salvador, and that's you know, we're deporting people there first, and then. And of course, part of the reason also, as you point out, part of the reason that they have the administration has declared that we are in a state of war, or that this is wartime, is that fascists can't really operate during peacetime. Fascists need to have a state of crisis, be constantly active, so that they can whip up support for their cause. First of all, so that people will see some kind of reasonable like plausible deniability or plausible sense of reason to give the government emergency powers for, you know, for there to be an emergency in the first place, right? But then also so that people are in a state of fear where even if it's a non-specific emergency, they will theoretically be acting irrationally enough to succumb to the fascist zeitgeist. Does that make sense? So that, like, there's all the reason in the world for fascists to constantly have people living in a state of like hysteria and emergency or whatever. And that enables them easier to get away with shit like this. Like, oh, you, about 200 people, or however many it was, who are migrants, allegedly, Venezuelan citizens, I think. I don't know. I don't know if they even confirmed that. I don't think they did. They just alleged that they were citizens of Venezuela. They just alleged that they were Tren de Aragua gang members, and then deported them all without due process. They didn't prove anything. They just said, oh yeah, they're gang members and terrorists, with no evidence. We will never know the degree to which they were right or wrong. I have a feeling that probably most of these people weren't gang members or terrorists, or like, some of them might not have even been Venezuelan citizens or whatever. But we'll never know, because the administration just put them all on an airplane and shipped them to a concentration camp in El Salvador. And the courts were powerless to stop them, because Congress gave, like, they gave the keys to the kingdom to the presidency, to the administration. They surrendered without a fight. That's the state that the federal government is in right now. But they were like, go quickly. Yeah, that's part of how fascism works. They have to blitz through all of their objectives to go through it too fast for people to stop them. I believe there's a thread. There's a thread on Twitter, I think, where there's a woman who is a lawyer or something like that, who is representing some of these people in court, or at least one of these guys in court. You know, we have an immigration court system which is separate from the regular court system. It's part of the problem, but ultimately, you know, people did previously get some kind of legal representation here. And she said, yeah, I haven't been able to get in touch with my client. He's been blackbacked. They took him to El Salvador. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he's still alive and whatever. You know, their legal rights have just been taken completely from them. Like, you know, even if they were able to ask for a lawyer, you know, you know, they're just going to get told, Lamau, no. And, you know, even if they already had a lawyer, as is the case with some of them, their lawyers are not going to be able to get in touch with them because they're not in the country anymore. They're gone. You know? They've been disappeared. Ow. Mistimed that. I think I'm gonna chain this. Yeah. Good time to use this car again. Wow, okay. One banana in fourth. Not a great spot to be, but it's alright. Oh, wow, I gained a lot of ground on that guy. He might have tricked and then I didn't, or something. Ow. I wasn't trying to run into that guy. In fact, I was trying to do the opposite. Okay. No! That shock came at probably the worst possible time. Mario Karted at the very end. Sometimes it just goes down like that. again, what do I even say about it? Like it's done. They kind of won. There are no institutional barriers to anything that. If you're saying public things that are bad about America, don't be in America. Yeah, I was going to mention your hair is longer than the last time I saw you on stream. You're any too. Welcome back to the chat. Yeah, my hair is a lot longer. I've been growing it out because I wanted to. Eventually, I want my hair long enough to be able to do a high ponytail with some bangs in the front. Yeah, I am growing out my hair. Yeah, I have, Gotron, since you mentioned it, I have actually been, thinking, okay, I need to watch more carefully if prominent media figures start, like, being disappeared. How long does it need to be for that? It needs to be long enough that I know how to do a ponytail. It needs to be long enough that I can, like, basically bunch up all my hair and put it in a hair tie to do a ponytail in the back. But it's not long enough for that yet. Last time I checked was about a month ago. I think. And occasionally I'll do what's called a half up if it's like gets so annoying that my hair is like long in the front as well and like getting in my face or whatever. But that does remind me that I might like to check how, like, whether my hair is long enough for that yet. Again, I don't know exactly how long it needs to be, but, it needs to be a certain length, and I don't know that it's there yet. Wasn't a great ending section, but whatever. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, Gotron, to your point, I've been kind of watching to see, like, okay, when are the critical voices gonna start getting, like, disappeared and stuff? If we're living in Nazi Germany, American flavor version, like, when I think when Hassan and those guys start getting in hot water is when I'm really in trouble. Imagine the next live stream you're gonna be praising Trump to not get arrested. Yeah, that's probably like, I have a feeling that eventually, or maybe not even eventually. Fuck, with the pace that the administration's been going, it could be sooner than later. They might get to that point. You must praise President Trump. Otherwise, you are an enemy of the state. I mean, they did literally just say, like, yeah, if you're an enemy of the state, you can be deported without due process. They invoked the Alien Enemies Act. So it's only one more step for them to say, by the way, political dissidents are enemies of the state. And the Justice Department is already saying that. They've been saying that, like, pro-Palestine protesters are threats to national security and, like, enemies of American interests. Or something. I think with the live streamers, they'll get them all at once so that none of them escape. Yeah, people like Vosh and Hassan are large enough that their arrests will at least be noteworthy on the news. But yeah, I do have a feeling that they're gonna do something where, like, they don't tell you when they've passed a certain law. Like, to catch the maximum amount of people, the maximum amount of, like, political dissidents in one go-round, they, like, quietly pass a law or a decree or whatever, and then wait a couple of days to see who is still criticizing the government. And then after that couple days, they're like, sorry, a couple days ago we passed this law, so now everybody who's broken that law, we're going to round you up and arrest you. And presumably take you to a concentration camp. Got me pretty nervous. Pretty damn nervous. I highly doubt they would come after me specifically, but look, people have been caught flat-footed on that sort of sentiment before. So I don't want to overestimate the likelihood that I've just kind of overlooked for whatever reason. Yeah, like it just another excuse to have slave labor and stuff, right? It's one of the reasons I've actually been considering trying to reorient my like career plans to leave the US, you know? Like America is the only home I've ever known, but I don't I don't want to, you know, I want to be able to live my life, and if that means I have to like leave America or something, then I'll do that. But you know, ideally I would like to. It would be I think my primary objective is to find a way to basically to go down swinging or whatever the hell. Find a way to like still live in the United States and just have that as an escape hatch. Somebody gonna get hit? Yeah. Sure you have a cyanide pill in your teeth, yeah. Something like that. I mean, they usually do that. Like, for CIA agents, they do that because of, like, sensitive information that they have. Like, dog, I'm not privy to any sensitive information. One of the things about this, I'm not an actual, like, national security threat or whatever in the sense of, like, oh, he has terrorist plans to destabilize such and such, classified details, blah, blah, blah. Like, none of that is happening. Like, there's nothing... There's nothing that important that they could ask me that I would have, like, an answer to, like, where's such and such group operating from? Dog, I don't fucking know. What, are you kidding me? Everybody is lonely these days. You know? You think I fucking know anything about what the John Hancock, penis balls enlargement socialist society is doing? Or whatever? Like, get out of here. Just do that to not be forced to be a slave. Yeah, I'm actually not sure how I would respond in any given situation where some eventual version of that happens. I don't know. If I fade into anonymity enough, which I mean is not that difficult because nobody really the cliche line, "You'll never take me alive." Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Look, at a certain level, you do have to recognize that they can't just fucking arrest everybody. So a lot of this is going to be contingent on me like getting out and about and not holing up. You know? The more people care that I'm gone, the better. But anyways, look, a lot of that treads into like main character syndrome territory. Things are so murky right now that I genuinely don't know how to balance like, oh, there is a credible threat to my safety as well as the safety of people around me, which there is. But then also like trying not to overstate the case in my head, you know, because that would make me really paranoid. Real life is like Assassin's Creed. Many such cases. Not saying every person in the government's coming after you. No, I'm just referring to the like nebulous, the conceptual threat of like being a somebody who could be labeled a political dissident and like disappeared at a moment's notice. You know? What is... Everybody's dying behind me. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to hit him, but all right, sure, we take those, buddy. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. Imagine the news story. The government has found Hassan, like Hassan is an illegal immigrant. Yeah, like they start fucking taking citizenship away from people. Not like the law matters anymore, you know? Oh, dude, that guy's on outside drifting mock bike. That's kind of wild. I'm gonna just launch that because I got bananas. Only thing that matters is public opinion. Yeah, and in a certain sense, yes. Dictatorships more so than democratic systems like fucking depend on public opinion being permissive of what they want to do. Democracies can survive the public really not liking them. Dictatorships can't. Right? Because in democracies, people are like legally allowed to express that discontent, and in dictatorships you're not, which means people get disappeared for expressing that discontent, which doesn't address the underlying source, which makes the discontent grow even further. Basically, accelerationists eating pretty good either way, you know. What do we even have? Like, what else even is there on this? I'm seeing a lot of, like, news outlets that are, like, that I've known to be quite deferential to Trump on various occasions. You know, kind of like, with, 1984. In the book 1984, one of the things that I think is highlighted at certain points is that a lot of the disappearances, you know, like Winston gets tortured and whatever by the party. A lot of the stranglehold that the party has over broader society, the threat of deportation, the constant surveillance, a lot of that is levied directly at what they call the outer party. You know, like the upper class that's just outside of the upper class. And then the proles are largely like viewed as not a threat because they're too dumb, and they're kind of left to their own devices, right? I think people who are part of that, like, I guess what you would consider to be the equivalent of the outer party, the news pundits, the talking heads, the business people, and the intellectuals as well. Even though intellectuals and the intelligentsia are not very wealthy, they will be targets of this, you know? The proles, as it were, you know, the working proletariat will not be as under the microscope or magnifying glass with regards to being disappeared, again, because that's the workforce. If you disappear too many of them, if you're watching them too closely, society will collapse in a manner comparable to the Great Depression times 100. You know? It's the fucking, you know, folly of, like, being a king without a kingdom, right? So it occurs to me that part of this could be just, like, moving outside of DC. You know, that'd be good. Like, moving as far away from DC as possible. Next plan will try to be delete the information of minorities. Yeah, they are already deleting documentation and stuff. I'd have to find what I saw about this, but I think it was like It was some agency, it was either the Department of Justice or something else, was like deleting records of some of the shit that they were doing. Which is another thing that the Nazis did, by the way. One of the things that the Nazis did, because they knew how evil they were for doing the Holocaust, the Nazis, as they realized the Allies were winning the war, tried to delete the evidence of the Holocaust. They tried to destroy all the documentation of what they were doing to minorities in the concentration camps. You know, with all the power, pretty hard to do a public book burning. Yeah, it is much more difficult to erase records that do exist now, especially if they've been downloaded or uploaded onto a website that isn't strictly the database on the like the a.gov website. But you know, that's not a perfect insulator from stuff like that happening. Remember when Asmongold was like, Nazis weren't against trans people? True. Asmongold and J.K. Rowling both are Holocaust deniers. That's true. Literally, the most infamous photo of Nazi book burning is them burning research from the German Institute of Sexology. A lot of that research pertaining to trans people. Asmongold will be fine. Out of all the streamers that I expect to get got by a Nazi-controlled government, I think Asmongold will be just fine. That guy has one VR. Sick. Here, hold on. $100 for I'll be like, shut up, there's no history of them. I mean, the part of the thing that dooms fascist projects to fail is that they are incompetent. They are, in trying to erase the records of a certain minority group existing, they have undertaken an impossible task, especially with trans people, because there's literally thousands upon thousands of years of documentation of trans people existing. You know, you'd have to delete the entire internet. And basically nuke the Middle East and Europe and America. You'd have to destroy the world and also the internet to erase all the evidence of trans people existing, because you can go to basically any society, ancient or modern, and there are trans people there. And we have documentation of that in some form or another. Elon Musk might try that. I mean, they do hate everything and life and you and me and themselves, so... not completely out of the question, although I kind of doubt it, because Elon, first and foremost, wants to have his fucking... he wants to have his ego stroked and his insecurities, abated. Oh, you got a mushroom. Interesting. What's he got? He's got bananas. I've got a fake item. So I'm going to just set this down right here. Another item. Green shell is good. Whoa! Okay. That was the jankiest shortcut I've ever seen, and controller didn't quite do what I was telling it to do there, so that's unfortunate, but, you know, whatever. Oh shit! That was probably perfect positioning for me. Any other news about what the fascists are doing? Some, I guess. There is one thing that I think is relevant to bring up. I actually don't know if I'm going to make that a segment, because I've got other stuff that I'm working on currently. And I feel like there's just not even that much for me to say about it. It's like, all right, say goodbye to your rights, I guess. Like, that's what's up. There is one thing that sort of ties into this, that the Trump administration was firing military lawyers. Just make it a short... I could, but... Look, I have a plan for some stuff that I want to make YouTube shorts out of, and that's not one of them. And that might be still a few months down the line. Like, me making YouTube shorts. Here we go. This is probably what this article from AP was building towards, or what this, as covered by AP, this thing was building towards. Also, note the framing here. Hegseth says, it is the Secretary of Defense, he fired the top military lawyers because they weren't well suited for the jobs. Great framing, AP. Love my unbiased news source when they, they're firing all the JAG officers, but that's just because they were, they were unqualified. What can you do, right? In reality, what they did was they fired all of the... They're starting to purge the judge advocates general. I believe that's the term. That would defy the administration. And they admitted as much on Fox News, I believe, if you look up the clip, the clips of the interviews that they did. Legal qualifications. Look at this. Speaking at the start of the meeting with Saudi Arabia's defense minister, Hegseth refused to answer a question about why the Trump administration has selected a retired general to be the next Joint Chiefs chairman when he doesn't meet the legal qualifications for the job. Love when the best thing that they can come up with was like, why are you hiring loyalists? Is they aren't even qualified for the job. Fuck you. Like, say they have a background of being extremely loyalist and partisan and like a Trump supporter or whatever the fuck, and that's why they're hiring. I hate liberal media outlets so fucking much, dude. But, if you weren't already privy... Here's the thing, right? If you weren't already privy to certain information in certain historical context, you would be lulled into a false sense of security by everything that, like, AP has to say about this, basically. That, like, this could be problematic, but, they're just firing... They're firing these lawyers because they view them to be unfit for the job. They view them to, not be qualified, and they want to put the cream of the crop in there. Like, come on. And I put that on AP. I put that on the news outlets that front these sort of stories. No doubt this is a preparation for the declaration of martial law, Mar-a-Lago law, martial law that is sure to follow with the executive consolidating power and the administration stripping migrants of their rights, etc., right? I'm just getting Mario Karted today, it looks like. They have to be balanced from both sides, yeah. Well, who do you think made The Legend of Korra? It was probably people that think like this, Fired the chairman, fired the... Oh. Yeah, they're doing a bunch of he said, she said. And it's kind of a toothless effort to be like, well, here are the facts. And then, like, we'll let you come to your own conclusions. No, fuck you. You're a media outlet. You are part of a machine that manufacturers consent in either direction. You have to act like you have a direction that you're manufacturing consent in. You have to make it known that you have an opinion, because every news outlet has an opinion. Never let anybody gaslight you into thinking that news doesn't have an opinion, that a news outlet doesn't have an opinion on anything that they report on. They do. That's why they decide to report on certain things, you know, and why they might not decide to report on certain things as well. They're just too much of pussies to tell you that, oh, our opinion is that you shouldn't rock the boat no matter what circumstance, even when it means that all the fucking judge advocates general, like all the fucking military lawyers are getting fired and people are being deported and disappeared and stripped of their rights, and the Alien Enemies Act is being invoked, and they're talking in the same fucking banal tone. This is not reflective of them not having opinion. This is reflective of them having an opinion that not rocking the boat is better than stopping what's coming. Watching a video about this has got me racing like shit, by the way. A college video just have the pipeline. Yeah, I know that. I don't know what the sentence of the sentiment is, or the sentiment of the sentence is. Like, I don't know what's a video is like about college just being a pipeline to helping the rich, or what, or whatever. Forcing a cert. Oh, yeah. College encouraging the careers that help the ruling class the most. Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. In fact, it was a thing when I was in college, too. They definitely de-emphasized the humanities, and it fucking showed. Yeah, all the STEM buildings got really nice funding. They de-emphasized the humanities, they de-emphasized philosophy and sociology and anthropology and history, despite the fact that we were in one of the most historically rich settings in the entire United States. And I would even get like all the job fairs. They had job fairs in college. All the emails I would get about job fairs, it was like fucking investment firms and banks and shit. It's like, I'm not interested in working for you. Fuck off. Interviewed some people that felt guilty for taking those jobs, and I don't blame them, because your job is to be evil if that's one of your like that's the job you take. I'm gonna be honest, I think today's just not, like, today just might not be my day for streaming and whatever, because yesterday hit like a fucking bombshell, right? Like, it's difficult for me to explain the sentiment without going into, like, the Nazism is standing right behind me, isn't it? But it was kind of like one of those moments like, oh shit, we arrived at that sort of destination a lot quicker than I thought we were headed for. Even though I knew that it was inevitable that we would get there, it's like, oh, you know, I knew that the CR giving the administration unlimited power was going to result in this. I didn't think it would be literally like less than a week afterwards, you know? Although I guess, you know, in retrospect, it's like hindsight is 2020, right? It seems so obvious that the literal moment that the executive branch is handed unlimited power by a feckless legislature, that they would then immediately start using it because they understand that, like, you know, nobody can stop them. They don't have to be cautious anymore. They don't have to hesitate. They can just do it, you know? Or interviewing some people. Oh, wait, I've read that already. Probably be a lot easier once we have more examples. Yeah, the disappearances are going to start escalating, especially because of ICE being completely fucking unhinged. Here, in fact, I could probably look this up. ICE disappearances. Only 3 people? Alright. Great, media blackout on that. 1 hour ago, ACLU of New Mexico, sure. Once you see ICE at your... Yeah, that's gonna be fucking scary. It makes Resident Evil feel safe by comparison? Yeah, for sure. Oh, what happened to that guy? He's way behind me. Nice. Not as nice. Okay, he's going that way. Dang, would have been bleeding. Yeah, I mean, getting hit by a motorcycle is not a fucking... Like, it's no joke. What the fuck? Great, I hopped right and my character went left. Alright, this was the last thing I was gonna read. I'm leaving this room. ACLU New Mexico. They'd probably be on the forefront of this. Urgent human rights complaint submitted after ICE disappears 48 New Mexico residents. Fucking Jesus, dude. Santa Fe, New Mexico. At a press conference held at the state capitol today, a coalition of immigrants' rights advocates announced the submission of a formal complaint to DHS challenging the disappearance of 48 New Mexico residents. They also challenged New Mexico legislators to urgently advance 2 bills that would help protect immigrant New Mexicans. New Mexicans were apprehended by ICE during operations last week in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Roswell. I believe those are the 3 biggest cities in New Mexico. According to the ICE press release, the majority had no criminal record. The complaint submitted by the ACLU of New Mexico noted that ICE had not disclosed their identities, whereabouts, detention conditions, or whether they have access to legal counsel or are being afforded due process, effectively causing them to vanish from public knowledge. So, by ICE's own admission, they disappeared them just because. No criminal record, no suspicion of wrongdoing of any sort. No access to legal counsel, no knowledge of their whereabouts, or if they've been, like, tortured or some shit. They're just gone. This is not just a procedural issue, it's a serious human rights violation. And I understand this is, like, a little bit fucking woke lefty moment. I know this is ethnocentric, blah, blah, white privilege, blah, blah. But this is just like the boomerang. This is like boomerang theory coming back around. ICE has been doing this to immigrants for some time, to people at the border, ever since the 1990s with the Clinton admin, particularly in the 2000s when the private prison industrial complex started working with the with immigration services to get immigrant labor, basically, prison labor. But now it's like, okay, the sort of fascist project has percolated out of the realm of just immigrants who are so invisible, just at the border, to now random residents in urban centers in these states. No criminal record. Probably a lot of them probably weren't even like immigrants that you could have any reasonable suspicion to be like, oh yeah, they were illegal migrants, so we detained them. In fact, even by ICE's own admission, they weren't. It was just like, yeah, we just did it just because. Highlighting the laws that they proposed to prevent this from happening. If it's a spoiler for something I'm watching or I'm caring about, then please don't make the comparison. Anyways, this will probably be the last race. This was not, this is really not an on day for me, it seems. I'm still, like, again, I gotta reiterate, I'm still kind of flat-footed from yesterday. It's like, oh, that was fast. I thought they had to, like, build the concentration camps first. But no, there's already. It hasn't even been 2 months into Donald Trump's second term. His presidency, and we've got disappearances and concentration camps and the Gestapo running around. What the hell? How did I not get the trick off that? That's one thing that bothers me about ramps like that. Sometimes you just don't get the trick. Don't bump me off. Jesus. I've had enough of that shit today. Okay. Sixth? Okay. I might have more to say about it tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure, but fuck it. Uncharacteristically quiet stream today for me. Usually I love just yapping the whole time because I have shit to say, but this is just it just feels really grim, man. I mean, I went on a walk the other day as well. I went on a walk outside around the neighborhood, and the environment around me actually started to feel a little bit more oppressive, if that makes sense. I was reminded the last time I went to Morocco, and we were in Rabat, and I took a walk around the neighborhood there as well. Not alone, mind you. But you know, the seeing an American style suburbia in a very authoritarian state, it made a lot of sense in that it felt appropriately alienating for a state where you're being surveilled, and a state where you had to watch what you said. You know, make sure you didn't say anything negative about the king. You know, otherwise you might earn the ire of the state. You know, you might get disappeared. And I started to feel that a little bit when I was walking around my own neighborhood. And again, I don't want this to seem like I'm treading into like main character syndrome. Like, I personally fear that ICE is going to come and take me away. It's possible that something to that effect could happen at some point, but I don't think, at least I hope, it's not like an imminent threat or anything, especially not to somebody like me. What I meant was that I started to feel like there's nothing main character about having fear. Yeah, it's just I started to feel like that same sense of, oh, this is appropriately alienating. It's designed to divide people from each other so that if and when the state decides to pick you off, it's easier. You know, I felt like I'm not safe out here. Not entirely, anyways. I started to feel like, shit, we're being watched in this country. The surveillance in the United States and the surveillance in Morocco are very different beasts, right? And I mean that just in the sense that the surveillance is conducted very differently, much more abstractly in the United States than in, say, Morocco, where literally the guy sweeping the sidewalk could be on the payroll, and you gotta watch for that shit. I don't think that exists in the United States. But I don't know. It was kind of like, you know, if you have your phone on you, it's got like the GPS location data and shit like that. And I know, like, I've known about this stuff abstractly for a long time, like web browsing habits and internet cookies and fucking even documents on your local drive and shit like that. You know, the digital surveillance state extends very far, and abstractly I've known about that for a while. But there's this brewing cocktail that's sort of, you know, you're looking at this cocktail brewing, and it's starting to become more and more complete, where they added all the surveillance stuff beforehand. Now they're leaning more into the authoritarianism, cracking down on political dissent, and it's like, oh shit, they already had all the tools to do that. It was kind of it was one of those things that I've been saying, where in order for fascism to happen, all the bedrock for it has to be laid out beforehand under a liberal system. You know? You've seen police that are bad undercover? Oh, that's true. The incompetence of fascists, believe you me, this is one of the many ways in which the incompetence of fascists contributes to the efforts to fight against them, is that the cops, in fucking sucking at their job, are also really bad at pretending to not be cops. You know? You see an undercover cop, you can fucking tell from a mile away. It's like, oh yeah, cop. Yeah. I don't know. It's partially an irrational motivation that, like, oh, I started getting that feeling. That feeling like, oh, wow, okay, we really are kind of being watched, and you know, outside might not be entirely safe anymore. You know, neighborhoods like this are kind of like, it felt kind of like we were in the outer party, like we were in that echelon of people who were either wealthy enough or educated enough for the government to be worried about, and you know, I was like, I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to, I think like when I move out, I need to leave this area. Government spying powers are literally like superhuman. Yeah, if the people wielding those powers are competent, if they know where to look, what records to pull up, you know? I don't know. A lot of this could sound paranoid, and I hope that some of it is just paranoia. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry, especially in times like this with a, you know, how many times have I saying it? A government that has now been taken over by fascists, etc. But it is what it is. Again, I feel like today was kind of an off day. I gotta... I don't know. I don't know what Boombox is. I don't think I've even heard of that show. I'm gonna... I'm gonna rate his son. He's talking about the Alien Enemies Act. He's probably gonna say something interesting, at the very least. Alright. Bro, what is happening? OBS is, not cooperating with me. Look. What is going on? There we go. Okay. Don't know why that took so long to happen. The command finally registered. Alright. Enjoyed the Hasanabi broadcast. I'm probably going to watch either that or Vosh or something. See you next time.